Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Q, the Customer Experience Conversations. I remain your host, Dipo Yewole. Hope you've been having an amazing day so far. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for making the time to be here tonight. It can be afternoon where you are, it can be in the morning, depending on where you are in the world. You are welcome to the Q, where we talk about customer experience and what businesses can do, what customers need to expect from businesses, and how businesses ought to meet those expectations by giving customers what they want in terms of value for their money. So yeah, that's why we're here. That's what we're on at the Q. Without further ado, we will be jumping into today's conversation. And last week and the week before, we're talking a lot about personalization, and we'll be looking at that further with today's theme, which is the journey of personalization, because somehow we have not been able to exhaust that particular subject. And the background for talking about personalization with customer experience is really about talking about the pillars of customer experience. 4 pillars. Of course, there are so many pillars, so many principles, but for the sake of this conversation, we started off by looking at 4 of those pillars. Okay? 4 of those pillars. The first pillar was personalization. The second is competence. The third is convenience. And the fourth is being proactive. So yeah, we're starting with personalization, and we have stayed on personalization because there is so much to talk about with regards to personalization when we're talking about the customer experience. Now, we talk about personalization from the standpoint of it being an experience and from the standpoint of it being a business strategy. So yeah, personalization for the customer experience. That is where we are, and we're talking about the journey of personalization. So last week, we talked about, give an example of Amazon and several businesses and the little things that we can do in our businesses that can serve as personalization, because we discussed that personalization is important because for every human being, it is important that in whatever relationship we engage ourselves in, even if it is a commercial relationship where you're engaging with a business, we all want to feel seen. We all want to feel heard. Okay, we don't like to be invisible. If we're paying for a particular service, we want to know that we're getting what we're paying for. We're getting value for our money. And how about we make people feel special while we're delivering we're providing that service to them, or we're giving them that product that they paid for? Because in the end, that is what makes the sum total of the customer experience. It isn't just about them paying for a service or paying for a product and then you give it to them. It's a lot more than that. There's so many things that go into the customer experience. More importantly, the emotional aspect of it. That is what we need to understand, and that's what we need to tap into. And that is part of where personalization comes in. And before I go further, you're connecting with us on the Q tonight. You can be part of the conversation. Just look at the buttons below. You can connect. Just look at the buttons below. You can connect with us, request to be part of the conversation as we go along with the conversation, and then you can be part of the conversation. We can have a dialogue for a couple of minutes. It's not supposed to be a monologue. So you can always be part of the conversation. So yes, like I said, we've been talking about personalization and to see how it is most effective for the optimal customer experience, because we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to feel special. You can have a dozen people in front of you as a business operator, but how about the one person you're attending to per time? You make that person feel special. Make that person feel like they are the only ones in the world, even though they have 20 people behind them on the queue. You make them feel like there's nobody else that you have to attend to. Of course, I'm not saying that you spend all your time with them, but the few minutes that you'll be spending with them, that you will be engaging with them, how about you make them feel special, make them feel seen, make them feel heard? That is where personalization comes in, because personalization doesn't just have to be a product or a service that is just customized for a particular customer or a client. It can also be how you engage with them. Can you engage with them on a personal note where they feel like you're actually connecting with them on a very personal level? So it's not just about, okay, I collect money from you, I give you your products, and then I say, okay, bye bye. If you like, come next time. If you like, don't come next time. Okay, that is what we're talking about in personalization. So yes, I'm doing a quick recap so we can use it as a foundation for today's conversation, which is the journey of personalization. So yes, we're talking about personalization with regards to customer experience. And one of the key things that we're able to point out, or we've been able to point out, is that for personalization, there is no way that we can do without data. There's just no way we can do without data. It is important that when we're talking about personalization, with regards to the customer experience, we must embrace data, data collection, data management, how you sort out your data. You must be friends with data. You must be aligned with the principle of how to use data, because that's the only way you can effectively provide personalization for your customers. Now, I'm not just talking about it being a one-on-one engagement with them. We're talking about ongoing engagements with your customers. Because, for example, we have, I gave this example last week. For example, you have a business where you have loyalty programs. And what we see in a lot of businesses, especially retail businesses, is the entire loyalty program or the entire loyalty protocol is just made up for this particular purpose. You shop, you get a certain number of points, maybe at the end of the year, maybe the Yuletide season or some season in the year, maybe the anniversary. They say, okay, you've racked up X amount of points. It's all culminates into this particular amount, and then you can use it to get maybe a tin of milk or a particular product. Your customer loyalty program is worth much more than that. It is worth much more than that. Your customer loyalty program isn't just for you to have customers rack up points where at the end of the year, or maybe when you're having your anniversary or some special event, you can always convert it into a monetary value where they can use to get something else from your business. Your loyalty program is worth much more than that, because either way you like it, it serves as a very strong database that you can explore with regards to customer experience. How about you go through your database, you have a customer who happens to be a repeat customer, even the customer that isn't even a repeat customer. They engage with you, you have some part of their information, if it's their phone number, their email, their handle on social media. Have you been able to engage them from time to time? After sales service, have you been able to engage them to say, okay, hello, we're just calling to say hello, to see if maybe you're interested in getting anything from us, and even if you're not, we just want to know how you're doing. We know the times are very interesting. We want to know how you're faring. They want to know that you care. Businesses want to know that you care. That is how you get repeat customers. And aside from repeat customers, that's also how you get customers to be your own personal evangelists, to be your own personal marketers. Okay? Businesses need to know you care. People need to know you care. That's how relationships work. That's how they thrive. That is how they get to be sustained over time. So it is important that for businesses and business operators, we're very responsible with how we collect data and with how we deploy that data. We must be very deliberate about it. It isn't just collecting data or having data for the sake of having it. And of course, it's also not for you to always have to bug your customers or your clients, because sometimes people just get very overwhelmed. You have some folks that will just block you altogether. But at the same time, I believe that carefully crafted messages will also go a long way. I'm sure we all know of mailing lists. A lot of businesses have it. I'm sure we get it from several businesses, even the ones that we didn't subscribe to. But at the end of the day, are you being deliberate about it? Are you targeting those customers? Or are you just shooting your shots into the wind? Okay? So yes, data is at the very heart of personalization. We cannot take that away. We cannot separate data from personalization. And if you're just connecting with us, welcome to the Q, the Customer Experience Conversations. This is where we talk about the customer experience from both sides of the aisle, from the side of the customer and from the side of the business or the business operators, to see how we can get the best out of that particular relationship, where customers get the best value for their money and where businesses are able to deliver the best they can to give customers the true value for what they paid for. And yes, if you're just connecting, want to be part of the conversation, it's not supposed to be a monologue. You can also connect, request to be part of the conversation so we can have a dialogue for a few minutes as we go on during the course of this conversation. All right, so without further ado, we'll jump right into today's conversation, the journey of personalization. Like I said, it's a continuation of the entire series of what we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks. And personalization is one of the pillars of the customer experience. Talked about personalization, competence, being proactive, and a host of other things. So yes, now we're talking about personalization. And we give an example of one business, one brand on the planet that has been able to set the standards where it comes to personalization. And they've been able to also use data very, very well. That organization is Amazon. Amazon. Today, the reason why Amazon is where they are today is because of sound customer experience protocols. The founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, go check his interviews, go check his conversations, anything you can find on him online. He is always talking about the customer experience. He's always talking about customer service. And yes, on this platform, we talk about customer experience and not customer service, because I believe that customer service puts the entire, the person at the center of customer service is the service operator. And that shouldn't be. The person who should be at the heart of it is the customer. Because for customer service, even from their trainings, what you get to see is what they're expected to do. Of course, they have their own role to play. But how about we look at the customer experience, where we get to have the KPIs measured by what the expectations of the customer really is, or what they really are. Because either you like it or not, if you have all your fancy trainings or your fancy protocols, if the expectations of the customer isn't met, there's a service failure. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. There's a service failure. And where there's a service failure, you've not provided our customer with the optimal customer experience. So what is it that you're doing exactly? So the customer should be at the very center of the entire conversation. That is why on this platform, we talk about the customer experience and not customer service. So yes, back to Jeff Bezos. He's always on about the customer experience, customer service, how you need to build your entire business model around your customer. And you can see it reflects in how the business has succeeded thus far. It's very evident because they are very customer centric. And I find it very unfortunate that today we see a lot of small businesses that aren't that customer centric. They only go into the market delivering products and services that they believe that the customers want, not what the customers really need. And part of having data is also having to conduct surveys in different levels, in different ways. Surveys come in different forms. Okay? But the important thing is that you have data. That data is very important. You can't say that, for example, there are a lot of businesses in the world. I'll give examples. We have Apple, we have Samsung. These are businesses that spend billions of dollars on R&D every single year on their phones. Now, I don't mean the entire line. Apple gets to spend like $10 billion. So, for example, when they were developing the iPhone 7 from the 6, they spent, I believe, around $9 to $10 billion. And I'm sure you've seen the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7. So please tell me how much of a difference you believe is between both phones. You've seen iPhone X, 11, 12, 13. Little differences, but you'd be surprised that those little differences, what they spent on R&D, is tens of billions of dollars. Samsung does the same thing. And the $10 billion I'm talking about isn't just about maybe the entire 7 series line. No. It's just for iPhone 7. The iPhone 7, I think that's one that has the plus and the plus and whatever that is, has its own separate budget. These are businesses that are serious about what they're in the market for. And do you honestly believe that you get to spend tens of billions of dollars on R&D and then you do not have an adequate feedback system, which is also a form of data collection? Because in time past, we've talked about feedback mechanism as well, saying that you cannot run a sustainable business without having meaningful feedback protocols. It is very important. It's unfortunate that today, even personally, in our personal lives, a lot of people are very adverse to receiving feedback, especially the negative ones, not understanding that the purpose of feedback is usually primarily for improvement. Now, of course, there are people who just give feedback that aren't geared towards anything productive or anything positive. But I believe that the purpose or the weight of a feedback is really dependent on the recipient of the feedback. How do you receive that feedback? As much as maybe you can have someone come online or come on social media trying to bash you or bash your business, how are you taking that feedback? Is there some element of truth in it? Trust me, there's sometimes that everything could just be total rubbish. That is a very huge possibility because you have all sorts of people today on the internet. But can you look at yourself and the entire conversation introspectively and say that what they're saying about me or about my business, is this something that we can adjust? Is this something we can accommodate? Is this something that would improve the entire customer experience conversation? Because today we have businesses that do not have feedback mechanisms, and even the ones that seem to have it, they aren't very effective with it. You have platforms where people can always offer feedback, but you don't go there to review the feedback. You don't go there to review the information. So what's the purpose? Because then part of the primary responsibilities or the primary reasons for receiving feedback is to know how to improve. If you do not improve on your processes, on your businesses, how do you satisfy your customers? How do you go about it? How? Earlier, I gave examples of billion-dollar businesses and trillion-dollar businesses. This is how they grew to where they are today. They didn't just get there at a snap of a finger. It's been a journey. That's why we're talking about the journey of personalization. And at the heart of personalization is data. Feedback is part of data. So today we'll be focusing a lot more on data. And if we wrap up on time, there's also something I also want us to touch on, which is also very important, that I also believe that is one of the challenges of the entire customer experience conversation with regards to businesses and business operators. So yes, data. Businesses seem to face four main tactical challenges when it comes to personalization. Four main tactical challenges: data management, data analytics, alignment of organizations across functions, and tools and technology enablement. I'll take that again. Data management. Okay? Businesses face four main tactical challenges. So like I said before, if you want to be part of the conversation, request to be part of the conversation so we can have a dialogue for a couple of minutes. Okay? So it isn't just a monologue. It's supposed to be a dialogue. Want to be part of it, request to join. We can have a conversation for a few minutes. Doesn't matter if you're a customer or you're a business operator or you own a business. Let us have the conversation. Okay? So I'll take that again. Businesses have four main tactical challenges when it comes to personalization. Okay? And number one is data management. Number two, data analytics. Number three, alignment of organizations across functions, and tools and technology enablement. We'll be looking at those four tactical challenges, or maybe we don't use the word pillars, but we can call them four tactical challenges. We'll look at them, and that's what we'll be dwelling on for the conversation today. So, data management. More than 2/3 of a survey was done, and more than 2/3 of them, that's like 67%, indicate that their greatest personalization challenge is the gathering, integration, and synthesis of customer data. So there was a survey done with a couple of businesses, hundreds of businesses, And 67% of them said that their greatest challenge when it comes to personalization is gathering of data, integration of said data, synthesizing the data of the customer. That's what we've been talking about. Data, 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 data. Today, you hear that data is the new oil. The Facebooks, the Googles of this world, and those tech industries, that is what they trade in. They trade in data. They trade in data. Today, you hear what they're worth in the market today. It isn't just about you just opening your Facebook or opening your Instagram or you connecting to somebody's IG live. That's what gives them money. No, it's from selling your data that they have, that you have with them. It's data. Data is the new oil. Okay? So yes, 67% of organizations said that is their problem. Gathering the data, integrating the data, synthesizing the data. So what can we then do in these situations where you have an organization that they are able to gather data? Because either you like it or not, no matter the size of your organization, for your entire for all the touch points you have for your business, at some point, on some level, you gather some form of data on your customers. Have you thought about that? You gather some form of data on your customers. You have some form of data on your customer. So the question is this: you have that data. What are you doing with that data? Because I don't believe that data gathering is that much of a problem. I don't believe so. I don't believe data gathering is that much of a challenge for organizations, no matter the size of your business, no matter the size of your organization. I don't believe that data gathering is that much of a challenge. However, I believe that integration and synthesizing that data to be able to provide the optimal customer experience and to be able to improve your processes to see how you can infuse it into your system, the system of your business. I believe that is where you have the problem as a business. So yes, now we know that data gathering is part of the challenge, integration and synthesizing it. So what do we do when we gather data? First thing that, we're in 2022, this should just go without saying, is find a way to document the data electronically. Excuse me. That's really just glaring to you. It's really right there in front of you. You'll agree with me, right? When you have data, when you've been able to gather data, the data of your customers in your business, no matter the size of your business, have it documented electronically. You know why? When you have it documented electronically, synthesizing it, which is also interpreting it, will be a lot easier. It will be a lot easier. Because today we have different apps. You could use something as simple as Microsoft Excel to synthesize your data and for you to have a lot of information on your customer. Aside from Microsoft Excel, there are several other applications out there, mobile apps, the ones you can use for your PCs, that you can use to analyze the data that you have. So I believe that for a lot of businesses, on some level, I believe that yes, there is laziness at play, but before we get to laziness, I believe that there's also the path of ignorance, where a lot of people don't know what they have, where a lot of business operators don't understand that for every touch point in their business, they gather some form of data on their customers. And even for those who do, they are not being very deliberate about what they do with that data. So yes, there is ignorance at play, but I also believe that there's also laziness in the mix. And that's why we're having this particular conversation today. So if you're out there, you're a business operator, you own a business, you're part of an organization, you're having certain challenges, especially with engaging your customers effectively, knowing what they want, how to deliver the best experiences to them. How about you look at all the data you've been collecting and then see how you can document it or document them electronically? Then we'll start from there. Okay? So, like I said, the first thing you should do when you gather data, depending on your business, you have different ways to gather data. Okay, so I'm not going to come to say, okay, this is how you gather data for your business. Like I said, check the touch points in your business. At some point, you have the data of your customer. What do you do with that data? That's what we're talking about now. So we've talked about data gathering. Now it's about data synthesizing, and then we'll talk about integration of that data. So to synthesize data, you document the data electronically. We've said you can use different applications on there. So a lot of them are free. A lot of them you can even use offline. You don't need to be online to be able to use them effectively. Okay? So when you're able to document them electronically, then you can analyze. So the question is, what's the basis of your analysis? What are the parameters that you want to put in there? For example, you run a business, and let me think of an example of a business. Okay, so I'll go with an example we went with before. You run a retail business. Maybe you own a supermarket, okay? And you have the customer loyalty scheme that we talked about at the beginning. And then you're able to have all the data of the customers. What I usually expect from that particular loyalty program is because at the point of checking out or at the till, that's where they get to ask you, okay, well, do you have a card and all of that? Excuse me. Do you have a card with us? This and that. Oh, yes. What's the number? I expect that it won't just be to include the number of points the person makes from that particular purchase of the day. I expect that there should be a summary, maybe from the last 3 months or 4 months, where it can always point out, these are the things this person bought today. These are the things this person bought last month. These are the things this person bought 2 months ago. And then it's able to flag. 2 months ago, this person bought this tin of milk, X amount. And it's been 2 months after, they haven't bought another one. That is an opportunity to ask the customer, oh, sorry, we noticed that you usually get this brand of milk with us. We noticed that it's been 2 months that you've gotten it with us. Is there a challenge? And then you'd be surprised that some customers will tell you, oh, I didn't see any on the shelf. And then they tell you, oh, you tell the customer, very sorry, please hold on. We have in the store. Probably run out on the shelf, but we still have in the store. Can you please give me a minute? That's the particular sale that you would have lost out on. And for example, maybe for some reason you run out of that particular product. Then you can always say, oh, sorry, we run out of that product, or we don't have it at the moment. Would you like to try this alternative? And then the customer goes, oh, that's interesting. So they know what I want. They know what I like. That is the power of data. So that is the true purpose of having this entire customer loyalty scheme that a lot of retail businesses have. That's the objective. That's the reason why. Okay? So yeah, like I said before, taking it back again, want to be part of the conversation, click on the buttons below. There's one you can always get a request to be part of the conversation. You can be part of the conversation, and then we can have a dialogue. It's not just supposed to be a monologue. So yes, moving on. That is a very clear example of how to use data and how to use data effectively when we're talking about the customer experience. Oh, we noticed that, or the customer could tell you, oh, that particular item, I think yours is now very expensive. And they say, oh, sorry, you're comparing it to what other price? And they say, oh, I got it in another store for X amount, and I expect that any serious business operator will be able to note that down, because that is feedback. Because ask yourself this, that particular customer that you chose to engage and gave you that singular feedback. Do you know how many customers have come into that store and have refused to purchase that particular item for that particular reason? You have no idea. But all you know is, oh, this product isn't moving as fast as it used to at the beginning of the year. But you don't have feedback mechanisms. You don't have a way of gauging customers' reactions, customers' experiences. So you don't know why they're not buying it. Because if you're able to get that feedback, the question is, you then go back to run your numbers. Okay, is your markup too high? Is this something you can adjust? What can you do? Do you need to change your suppliers? Do you need to look at your pricing? Do you need to look at the positioning of the product? Is it positioned in the wrong place? These are things that feedback gets you. These are things that data gets you. So really, having data in your business is really non-negotiable. I know I've been saying this over and over, but we cannot emphasize it enough that data in your business, especially looking at personalization for your business as a business or as a business operator, it is very important. It is very integral. It's very important. So yes, we're still on the very first point where 67% of businesses that were surveyed said that they have challenges with regards to data, data gathering, data integration, and synthesizing that data. We'll be able to talk about how you gather data, synthesizing that data. Now, integration. I've also talked about how to integrate that data, which is having to infuse it into your entire processes to see how you can engage customers a lot better and a lot more efficiently. It's very important, or else what's the point of having the data anyway? What's the point of having the data if you do not get to break it down, see how you can analyze it? There's a way you can synthesize your data to say, okay, you know what? This particular customer gets this particular item from me every week, every month. And then you find out that maybe they've skipped a week or they skipped a month. It gets flagged, but you have their contact details there. You have maybe a phone number or an email address. That is an opportunity for you to reach out to them. Just send them a message. Oh, we noticed that you get this particular item from us every week, or you patronize us every week. Oh, we hope everything is okay. We didn't hear from you last week, or we didn't hear from you 2 weeks running now. If that particular customer had any reason to go engage another business for the same thing that they've been engaging you for, that would be the opportunity for them to tell you. And trust me, you take that feedback. So you see that it's an entire cycle that goes round to feed what we're talking about, customer experience. That's the point of data. Reach out to them. That's really why data is very, very integral to personalization. Because personalization, like we said, personalization can be looked at from the perspective of an experience or as a business strategy. Now we're talking about integration. So we're going to have that integration is going to be a bridge of both, where it's part of an experience and the business strategy. You have systems in place that can always let you know, okay, this customer, they've not been with you or they've not engaged you for X amount of time, as opposed to the regular duration that they engage with you. That's an opportunity for you to reach out to them, get feedback. If they don't have any issue with your business, fine. But trust me, at the end of that email, at the end of that phone conversation, at the end of that particular exchange, they will remember that a particular business reached out to them. They will remember. Because like we said earlier, every single person in any form of relationship, okay, wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to feel special. How else can you make your customer feel special when you call them up and you say, we noticed that you buy this particular thing from us every Thursday. Today is Friday. We didn't see you yesterday, Thursday. We hope everything is okay with you. Don't be surprised if you see them on that particular Friday. Because that lets them know that they are valued, lets them know that they are seen, lets them know that they are special, they are important. And you're kidding if you think that your customers aren't important to your business, because in the end, without customers in your business, you're not running a business, not even running a charity, because you're running at a loss anyway. So I have no idea what it is that you're running. But that just doesn't work. So that is the importance of data. Now being able to skip past or jump past the first hurdle, the first challenge, because we talked about the four main tactical challenges that businesses have with regards to personalization. Okay, and I'll do a quick recap for those that are just connecting with us. So we're talking about personalization with regards to customer experience, and we're looking at one of the challenges that businesses have with regards to personalization. Now, personalization is where you get to engage your customer on either on the basis of it being an experience or a business strategy. This is what I mean. As an experience, you engage them, you're providing a service, you're buying a product from you. You engage them like they're the only ones that matter in the world at that particular time and even after. As a business strategy, we're saying that it is part of the integral processes of your business. Okay? So we're looking at the challenges that a lot of businesses face with regards to making personalization work for them. And the first one that we looked at is data management. That's what we're talking about now, and that's what we're wrapping up now. Data management, where 67% of businesses that were surveyed said that they have challenges with gathering data, integrating data, and saying how they can sift through that data to make the most of it. So we talked about gathering data. Every touch point of your business, you are gathering data, either you like it or not. You just need to look very closely to see the data you're gathering at a particular point, when and where you're gathering that data. It is very important that you're able to note that. Also, synthesizing that data. The best way to synthesize data is to plug it in electronically, have them stored electronically, have them analyzed electronically, have them analyzed with different apps there. There's hundreds of apps out there that can help you analyze your data. Some of them will even analyze them for you in a graphical manner. You have different graphs, charts, so you can also see it pictorially to be able to determine where you need to improve, who you need to reach out to, what is what, depending on the parameters you put in place that you're trying to synthesize that data. And we talked about integration, and that's what we just finished on. We're talking about integrating that data to seeing how you can use it to engage your customers effectively. Either they're engaging with you one-on-one in real time or when they're not. That is the place of integration. Data analytics. Data analytics is number 2. Okay, we talked about the 4 challenges of businesses with regards to data as regards personalization. So number 2 is data analytics. Okay, acquiring and maintaining in-house expertise in analytics and data science are proving to be major concerns for 48% of surveyed businesses. A lot of those businesses are retailers. I'll take that again. Acquiring and maintaining in-house expertise in analytics and data science are proving to be major concerns for 48%. And that's what I was trying to talk about earlier with synthesizing the data. Because either I like it or not, analyzing the data you have is, let's say, is more important than the integration of the data. Because if you can't translate the data you have very well, then you have a serious problem deploying that data when you're trying to see how you're to make that data work for you. Okay? So yes, analyzing that data is very important. And it's understandable that getting folks in-house that would analyze data for you could be a challenge. And I believe that for a lot of businesses, or for most businesses that are small businesses, the challenge is usually the cost application of it. Because trust me, getting folks that can analyze data, data scientists, they're not cheap. Okay? They're not cheap. But there are different ways to go about it. You can always outsource it if you believe that it's something that is safe for you to do. You can always outsource not just the analytics of it, but you can also see how you can outsource the gathering of the data. So if you have the same business or the same operator that gathers your data and also analyzes that data for you, they understand the data points. So you tell them what you want, they set in place the data points, they gather the data, analyze it for you, and then they give you the summary. You just run with the summary. You execute the summary. Okay? But either we like it or not, it is a cost that we may have to incur in our businesses when it comes to analyzing the data that we're getting from our customers. It's really just important. It's just important because there's no point. There's literally zero reason to have data if that data won't be analyzed and analyzed effectively. Then again, before we can say we're analyzing data, we must also define the purpose why we want to have the data analyzed, or why we want the data in the first place. It is widely said that where purpose isn't known, abuse is inevitable. Do you want to have data for the sake of having data? Do you want to have data because you logged on to someone's Instagram live and then he said, go and gather data, and then you just gather data? Define the objective for wanting your data, because when you're able to define the goal for what you want the data for, that goal helps you set the data parameters that you are using to search or that you are using to break that data down. Do you understand? So that is one effective way to handle data and to analyze data. So it is very important that first we're able to define the purpose for which we want to have the data. Then we can say, okay, these are the parameters that we have in place. This is how we break it down. And this is what we want to, or this is how we want to execute this information. This is how we want to deploy this information once we have it. So it is very important that we're able to define the purpose and analyze effectively. So yes, again, I will say that having in-house data analysts or data scientists could have some form of cost implication for a business, depending on how you define the roles in your organization, okay? Whatever works for you. But I believe that it is something that it is worth investing in, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly negligent it looks like. I mean, for example, if you want to analyze data, it doesn't have to necessarily, depending on what your budget is. If you're having your data gathering and analytics outsourced. Now, it may, depending on the cost implication. Now, this is just an example. It's not a model that you must adopt, but it's just an example. If it's something you have outsourced, gathering of the data, for example, you could have them gather the data for 3 months and then analyze it for you and then give you the summary. You could have the data, 3 months, that's quarterly. So instead of it maybe being every week or every month or every 6 weeks or every 8 weeks, depending on what the cost implication is for you, especially if you are outsourcing the gathering and analyzing of your data, or even if it's just analyzing your data, it is important that at any fixed time, you are able to get that information. Because without that information, what's really the point of having the data, like we said before? So even if, depending on the cost, if it has to be quarterly, make sure that you get that information every quarter and then deploy your particular strategies with the information you've been given for the next quarter. See how you can deploy that information and then serve your customers a lot better. Okay? So running through the last two very quickly because we're very pressed for time. Number 3, alignment of organizations across functions. And mostly, this usually looks at retailers. Okay, so I would say alignment of retail organizations across functions. So for many retailers, They have processes and organizational models that prevents the efficient and prompt sharing of customer data and promotion decisions. Okay. For example, difficulty in aligning the marketing and merchandising teams. Depending on the size of the organization, even internal data. Now, this is not just customer data, even internal data, they have a lot of hoops to jump through to be able to make good sense of it. Where you have two key departments that aren't even in sync with each other because the data one needs to work, the other isn't providing it. For example, the marketing and merchandising team. If they do not have the data they need to work, they'll end up fumbling the entire thing. And marketing and merchandising, they aren't cheap. You spend money to make it work. So if you don't have data guiding you as to how to spend that money, you will be in trouble. You will be in trouble. Inevitably, you will be in trouble. So that's why you find that a lot of businesses today, they do a lot of marketing, spend a lot of money on marketing, spend a lot of money on merchandising, but in the end, they don't get the results they want. They aren't effective because they're not working with data. And what is part of that data, like we discussed before, part of that data also comes as in the form of feedback from customers, which is very important for what they're doing in particular, especially marketing and merchandising. So you don't work with feedback, but you're marketing products to customers and you're marketing what you think they want, not necessarily what the customer needs. Even if it is what they need or what they want, are you marketing it to them in the way they want it? Is that what you're doing? Or you're just marketing it to them in the way you think that you should give it to them? They have no choice. You just shove it down their throats. I mean, you're spending a lot of money to have it marketed to them and merchandising and all of that. So, I mean, they have to take it like that and buy a product or come to you to patronize you to provide the service that you provide. Is that how you believe it works? No. It's not going to work that way. I can assure you, it's not. It's really not. So it is important that for every facet of our business, even internally, that we're able to see how to synchronize data. To see that every single element or process or part of the business that requires that data has that data to function and to function effectively, especially if they need that data in real time. That's really how it should work. That's how it should work. That data has to flow. There should be free flow of information because, I mean, you see a lot of organizations today that you have different departments having all sorts of rivalry between them. I hear them, I mean, I consult for some of them and you get to ask questions like, what's your problem exactly? Because you're part of the same team, you're on the same side. If you can't get things right internally, as a customer, how am I sure that you give me what I want when you can't even get the information you need from your own colleague? How's that supposed to work? So it is important that even internally within our businesses, that where information needs to be shared, where information needs to be spread for others to get their own jobs done effectively, there's no reason to hoard it. You can always have central drives where people can always upload all that information, and then whomever needs it can always go extract it from there. That's an example of how to get it done. That's an example. So how about we do it in that particular way to ensure that it is efficient? Because where there's lack of efficiency, because we're talking about personalization as an experience or business strategy. And part of a business strategy, what forms the heart of a business strategy are mostly your processes. And this, what we're talking about now, is literally your processes. So if you're having problem or challenges efficiently sharing your customer data within your organization so that the people involved in allocating that data, in being able to engage your customers, are having issue having access to that data, then there's a serious problem. Okay? That is a serious problem. We move to the last challenge, and I'll do a quick recap. Talking about personalization um, as a means of, as one of the pillars for customer experience. And in personalization, we're looking at the challenges that businesses are facing with regards to personalization, being able to adopt personalization as part of the business strategies and also providing it as an experience to customers. So there are 4 challenges that we're looking at that we've identified. We've looked at 3. We just finished talking about the 3rd one. We're looking at the 4th one as we call home. The first one is data management. The second one is data analytics. The third one is alignment of organizations across functions. Okay, that's what we just finished talking about. And the very last challenge that we're looking at in terms of using data for personalization in your business is tools and technology enablement. Of the survey participants, the organizations that we're talking about that were surveyed, 67% of them admit that they did not have the correct tools in place to execute personalization at scale. An additional 41% say that finding the right solution partner was a struggle. And I believe that that particular challenge comes from not being able to particularly identify how you want to go about your personalization systems. This is why I say that when you're able to identify your personalization protocols, they will always be built around what your strengths are as your organization, as an organization. And even if it is something that either you need to partner or outsource to another organization, you are able to adequately identify where the gaps are and see how you can plug them. You're always able to. So I believe that the main challenge with this particular point is not being able to adequately identify how you want to deploy data to solve your personalization matrix. Where we're talking about the customer experience, because we're talking about tools and technology enablement. Earlier on, when we're talking about data management, we talked about the data gathering, synthesizing the data and integrating the data. We also talked about the analytics. This is part of it. There, if you need to analyze your data in-house, there are different tools you can use. Online, offline, all sorts of tools you can use. So yes, I believe that this can be a challenge, but I also believe that where there's a will, there is a way. And there are different ways that you can go about analyzing your data. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to cost you too much. You just have to be smart about it. And we also need to understand that for something to be good, it doesn't always necessarily have to cost too much. Sometimes you can do what is within your capacity, but do it excellently. When you do it excellently and diligently, it comes out in a much, much better manner than if you were just doing your bare minimum. So first, look inward. Look for cheap ways to get your data analyzed. And yes, if you're talking about personalization at scale, I believe that before you can talk about personalization at scale, it's something that you will have been doing in your own little way. So how about you do it with the given capacity that you have per time? And as your business grows, definitely demand will have grown, and it is expected that you also increase capacity. So I believe that that is an effective way to go about this particular challenge, having to do personalization at scale, because that's the challenge with a lot of businesses. But I believe that there are ways to get these things done. There are always a way. There is always a way. There's always a way. There's always a way. Okay? In closing, these challenges are further complicated by the fact that many retailers still operate under a hybrid. That's the bricks and clicks strategy, making it even more difficult to implement the right levels of personalizations in stores and online. And okay, Ola, okay, I'll do a quick recap of what I mean by personalization. Yes, we're rounding up now, but I'll do a quick recap when we're talking about personalization. Yeah, so I'll take that last point again. So these challenges are further complicated by the fact that many retailers still operate under a hybrid break and click strategy, making it even more difficult to implement the right levels of personalization in stores and online. So yes, back to Ola's question. When we're talking about personalization, so this is how we got to the conversation of personalization. The last couple of weeks, we've been talking about four pillars of the customer experience. Of course, there are various pillars, various principles, okay? But we chose to start with four pillars of personalization, of customer experience, okay? And the first one we're looking at is personalization. Second one is competence and convenience and being proactive. So when we're talking about personalization, basically, fundamentally, very simply put, personalization is engaging the customer where they are. Let me put it that way. Let me just summarize it that way because we run out of time. Engaging the customer where they are, how they want to be engaged. You've heard me talk about personalization from the place of an experience and from the place of business strategy. Now, that's when you are integrating it into your entire business processes, which is what we've been talking about, where we're talking about data management, data analytics. Okay, as an experience is when that is what you are delivering to your customer. Personalization. I'll give an example of personalization. For example, someone comes to you to buy a product. I gave this example last week. A particular business that I got something from, online vendor. I got something from them, I believe, a few weeks ago. And when the product arrived in the bag, in the branded bag, there was a small card with my name written on it and a handwritten note saying, "Oh, thank you for patronizing us." All of that, all of that, all of that, all of that. That is the form of personalization. Okay. Another type of personalization is customization, where you have, I gave this example as well, where, for example, if you go to a Mercedes-Benz website, you'll see an option where they tell you to build your car. Okay, that means that you can choose an S-Class and tell them, this is the interior I want, this is the color I want, this is the color of the seats, this is the color of the dash, these are the kind of rims I want, the size, the type, I want it two-tone, I want it single-tone. That is a form of personalization. Customization is also a form of personalization. But more importantly, when we talk about personalization as an experience, is mostly when you're engaging customers, where you make the customer feel like they are the only ones in the world. Okay? Because as a basic human need, it is important for us in every relationship that we feel heard, we feel seen, we feel special. You can have 20 customers on the queue in front of you, but you only attend to one customer per time. Yes? When you're doing that, make that particular customer that's in front of you, make them feel like they're the only ones that matter. They're the only ones that you have to attend to. Of course, I'm not saying spend all your time with them, but with the short time you will spend it with them, make them feel like you are there. Make them feel like you see them. Don't just do the run-in-the-mill thing and then have them run off so you can attend to the next person on the queue. No. So that's what we mean when we talk about personalization. Okay? So, Ola, I hope, yes, Damola, you're very correct. Treating customer as king. You're very, very correct. That's what we're talking about. So, Ola, I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you for that question. And thank you for connecting as well. Yes, so I said I was going to talk about a particular subject. Maybe we'll do that next week because we're out of time. But on a final note, okay, on a final note, as we take it home, remember, okay, no matter which side of the aisle that you are, stay agile as a customer. Keep your expectations reasonable. Get value for your money. As a business, strive to meet those expectations. Give them that value, okay? And I believe that together we can improve what the customer experience should truly be. Till next week on the queue, I remain yours truly, Diko Oyewole. Thanks so very much for being part of the queue tonight. You can get the previous episodes, including tonight's episode, on our YouTube channel, the Q Podcast, the CUE Podcast. You can also check us out on Podbean and Apple Podcast. Okay, you can get all our previous episodes on our YouTube channel, the Q Podcast, Podbean, and Apple Podcast as well. We'll do this every Thursday. For now, it's 7 p.m. Nigerian time. The time, maybe same time next week, but stay tuned to this channel. Subscribe, turn on the notifications. Thank you so very much, Damlola. Stay tuned. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Remember to like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. There's a new conversation in town. It's called The Q, where we talk about the customer experience. This is where we talk about the perspectives of the customer and the business and see how we can get the most of the customer experience. So again, I say a very big thank you for being part of the conversation tonight. Till next week, bye-bye. Oh, yes. So the flyers have different time zones for it. So yes, no matter where you are in the world, we have different time zones for it on the flyers that we send out. So you can check for one of those flyers on my page right now, Dipo Oyewole. Right now, you can check it out. The flyer for today, you see the different time zones on it. Agbeni Dipo, you're welcome. You're welcome. Just wrapping up. Hope you can be part of the conversation next week. We're wrapping up now. All right. So everyone, thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Till next week, Thursday. Bye-bye.